Thank you for fixing me, JoyGenea.
Oh, no problem. Good morning. Well, hello. Welcome to If These Heels Could Talk. I'm JoyGenea with Solutions by JoyGenea.
And I'm Michelle with Bad Cat Digital. And today we're talking about something that happened earlier this morning, which you'd think earlier this morning. Don't you guys record at the crack of dawn?
We do.
Yes, we do. But earlier this morning
was about 1:32ish a.m.
So 2 for you, about 4 for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
We could have texted each other and we both thought about it and saying, you know what? I just don't think I
don't want to record today.
Because I was up for a couple of hours not able to sleep. And I'm like,
yep. And I was up at 4. I couldn't get back to sleep. And I knew that I was going to be going back to sleep at 5:15 when I had to get up in 20 minutes. Right.
And here we are.
Nobody texted. Because we didn't text each other. Because why? Why did you not text me?
I didn't want to let you down. I didn't want to not have this happen, and then we would potentially get behind, and it would create more. In my head, it's like school creates more homework.
Yep.
Which is more to get done, more on the to-do pile. So it's like, no. I can. If I fall back asleep, I'm by 3. That was my rule. If I'm not asleep by 3, then I'll text her. But I was back down.
And I didn't want to let you down. And I was like, we're getting so close and she's probably still asleep. I mean, I know she gets up soon, but then she gets up so early anyway. I mean, if she gets up early anyway, then, I mean, is it really that bad? Does she get up earlier for this? If I text her and then fall back asleep and just be like, no, I can't. And then maybe she can start her day a little bit later. I know I could start my day, but it's not really that much later. And it's just and so my brain was just going around and around and around in circles. And then I fell back asleep and I didn't text you.
There we go. And so here we are.
We both kept our appointment with each other.
Yes.
Which, in hindsight and retrospect, I'm glad, because what we try to do during times and seasons when it's a little less hectic and frantic, like a time in a season when we're not taking a lot of vacations, so it's not the middle of the summer or it's not the holiday season, we try to record extra, so that when we are a little bit busier or you're on vacation or I'm out of town, we don't have the pressure to record every individual single week.
But it got us, that quick conversation this morning got us thinking about the whole thing about letting people down.
Right.
And is it right? And I guess I think of it kind of sometimes as boundaries with the schedule. That was one of the things that I felt like came out of a learning experience I took out of the whole pandemic shutdowns and everything, was the art of, if you didn't feel well and you had a in-person appointment on the second half of that thing, you canceled that. That wasn't even a second.
It wasn't even a question.
It was just done.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing slowly
it stopped.
I had somebody recently show up at a meeting. It was a networking thing.
Coughing or sneezing.
And I laughed. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't want to take time to be sick.
Right.
It wasn't even about COVID.
It's not about COVID.
No.
And here's the thing.
I'm just you needed to stay home.
Because I didn't get the flu or cold or anything during I got nothing during COVID. I got COVID.
Right.
but it was but let's just be real. COVID was way more infectious than the cold or flu, which is why. But when I was masking, especially at the beginning that first year, I didn't get anything. And it was really nice to have a schedule that was not impeded by being sick, because isn't it true that you always get sick at the worst time to be sick?
Oh, you're buried in this. You got this thing.
Your body's already tired because you're stressed out. And that's the thing. We put ourselves through a lot. The schedules that we run, and those are choices that we make. So it's not asking for, but we put our bodies through a lot.
We do.
And so the older I get, the more I feel it.
Welcome, honey.
Welcome to the club. Well, I volunteered to do 2 things on Saturday, and I regretted one of them.
Within minutes or seconds or hours?
Probably seconds.
I almost had a regret moment this weekend. I was going to wear the 3.5-inch heels.
Oh.
And but they look so good, and I can do it, and the legs look not I feel sexy. I enjoy it.
You feel sexy, yes.
Sexy. But everybody keeps having these damn outdoor weddings. Okay, and the 3 inchers and
you
grass,
need wedges.
They don't work.
You need wedges,
right? And
for grass.
But I brought them along thinking
Right.
because I was out of state for this wedding. I brought them along, and luckily, I also brought the flats.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the heels never came out of the car.
no.
No.
So I would call those valet heels.
Yeah.
Those are the heels you wear on date night when you're
Yes.
going to valet park.
Yes.
And so
oh, yes.
you
Somebody
literally
brings you to the door.
you literally walk from the car door to a table chair or to a
They're
like
not.
orchestra seat or
Yeah.
to a like you go
Valet
into
heels,
a
I like
they're
that. Yeah,
valet
they
heels.
are.
Now my privilege is showing a little bit when I say crap like that, but they're valet heels, which means that you only have to walk max 100 feet
Yes.
and then you get to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're done, you walk max 100 feet
Yeah.
and then
Yep.
sit down again in a car.
Yes, this is true.
Yes.
Yes.
And
There's a
they
different
pinch
type
along
of-
the way, by the
there are-
way.
There's wedgies that you wear for
Yeah, there's
longer
wedges
distance
and there's, thicker heel. Yeah, there's stuff that you wear for. Anyway,
But it does this conversation about letting people down.
yes. Oh, yeah, that's what we're talking
yeah.
about.
I do think it's important though that we circle back to this,
Right.
Because I know we've talked about boundaries and stuff before. But
Yeah.
are we letting people down, or are we taking care of ourselves? I think that's the
And I think there's a lot of conversation to be had around the circumstance and the situation being so completely different, and it's different in different times. It's different with different
Mhm.
people. It's what is your relationship like? What is your trust level like? How well do they know you? How well do you know them? All of those kinds of things. But it does seem as though we're more afraid of letting people down who are closer to us. And those are the people that we should be able to trust and rely on to help us take care of ourselves.
That's a really good point.
And so it's like it's almost like a disproportionate, like I'm not abdicating, like I'm including myself in this because I'm much more willing to reschedule an appointment with somebody that I barely know.
Oh, God, yeah.
Then I am willing to reschedule an appointment with somebody that I know really well, love, trust, appreciate. And that's only partly because I enjoy that person.
I'm almost the opposite.
More. Really?
Yeah, as you were talking about, as soon as you said like that first time meeting, and I went, oh Lord, we probably worked really hard to find the time on that, right? Because we don't know each other that well, so we weren't making sacrifices.
Right.
And if I reschedule that person, we're going to spend a ridiculous amount of time.
Oh, see, but since I got an assistant, I don't set the appointments anymore. So I can just say reschedule that. And then somebody,
okay, that would help.
Again, privilege showing.
Whereas a family member or somebody really close to me could just be like, hey, no, I don't have it. Like,
well, and that's the thing. I don't have the kind of family dynamic where I can do that.
Oh.
That doesn't exist in our family.
Oh,
either my family or my, joined family, my in-laws.
That's maybe the gift of the time blindness.
Oh, because your family. Yeah.
Yeah, like our function with time and balancing that out. It's just such a struggle that I think we have a lot more grace around people's schedules and that kind of stuff.
That honestly, just doesn't exist.
Oh.
If you said you're going to do something, you're going to do it.
Oh, yeah, we're really kind of we're like totally like, oh, you didn't do this.
Like your head will be bleeding if you like if you're bleeding from the eyes, maybe you can step out. Like maybe.
That's it also, I would have to say, it also comes from my dad though, because he was always just like, I don't know, the weather's looking bad. Maybe you shouldn't drive up. Like he was always giving us an.
But see, and here's the thing. That's really funny because I think it was the opposite for us when I was growing up. We would get into. My parents did not have a lot of money. Right. We were actually just talking about this the other week.
Yeah.
They drove some broken down 10-pot cars and had 2 little kids, and they were in their early 20s and oftentimes had to scrape together gas money to visit their parents or to go to somebody's house. And they were like an hour away. And so like without fail, every year we're in that car for Christmas. In blizzard, like I remember blizzards. I remember getting stuck places. I remember running out of gas with my mom. Like I remember some of these episodes.
Yeah.
But come heck or high water, we were in that car going to the thing, no matter what. And like we could be sick. There could be a blizzard on the way. It could be 20 below. We came back once and the pipes in the house had frozen and the basement had flooded. Like we were going.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's an osmosis. Like I don't know
It's
that I've
not a
ever
thought.
intentionally had this conversation
Yeah.
with members of my family, with my parents, with my, like, I've never had this conversation about,
it's been the given, like,
it's just the rule. It's just the
known.
way that
It's
we
the known.
operate.
It's how that
Yeah.
works.
And I think every family system has kind of
Yeah.
these baseline
It does.
assumptions and rules, and yeah, that's ours.
But those family ones don't carry over to business. When I'm put on the
No.
business hat, I become more like that. It's like,
Yeah.
when I said I was going to do this, it has, like, I have to be at this location at this time. I have, like, this.
Well,
is
and that's the thing.
what's
That's
transpiring. It's
but
different.
my family things do carry over into business, and I think it's helped a great deal because it's helped me create a personal brand of reliability and all of these kinds of things. But I'll tell you, there is one thing that never moves no matter what in my life.
Yes.
Like, unless I'm like, I don't have a voice, I'm massively sick, pitches don't move.
Yes.
You do not reschedule people who are coming to you to buy something for the first time.
From a sales perspective,
you just don't do it.
That's true.
You just don't do it.
No,
like
you can't delegate it out to other people.
No.
Yes, you're right. Sales doesn't move.
Sales doesn't move.
Absolutely, positively.
Yeah.
That's really true. And as that, like, this conversation then carrying over to our staff and carrying it over to even clients and customers.
Right.
It's, that not letting people down thing can definitely carry over.
Well, and so my question is, where is it? Like,
and in
healthy ways. And my question is, like, where is it? Where is it assumed? And it's mine to carry because of my past and my history and my personality and my value system. Like, where is it coming from me?
Mm-hmm.
That pressure I feel on myself, and where is it coming from the other person? I have every confidence that if I had texted you this morning, you would have been totally fine with it. And it never occurred to me that you wouldn't.
Like, yeah.
And it never occurred to me that you wouldn't have been. Mine was more, well, in the broader scope of things, I don't want to let her down. It wasn't about just recording today. It was about not holding up my side of the bargain.
So I do think, like, as you were talking about that, I was thinking of the fact that my more relaxed boundaries with time and so forth, it does translate. If you asked any of my clients, they would tell you it translates into my business. I'll say something's going to be done in a week, which is an unrealistic expectation.
Right.
It is. But they'll hear that and they're more finite, like, and so they're just like, well, is this done yet? And I'm like, no, I'm working on it, but, like, it wasn't a realistic expectation.
Right.
So that's what gets me into trouble, not letting people down. I tell them what I perceive they want to hear sometimes.
Instead of the reality of what you can.
Instead of, and I do try to be clear about that, but definitely when I'm sales pitching and definitely when I'm getting new projects, I can underestimate. That's a struggle. I'll underestimate the amount of time on that, and then it will wind up being
longer.
Pushed off. And actually to the point where I am aware of it.
Right.
Anybody that's worked with me any length of time, they're also aware of it.
One of the things about
it fries people.
But one of the things about trust is that you learn about people, and you can meet them where they are. Like, I trust is weird because it's not necessarily good or bad. I can trust somebody to act in a specific way.
Mm-hmm.
It's about predictable behavior. I can trust somebody to act in a specific way. So that means that they are, in essence, a known quantity. Whether I like the way that they're acting or not is not the issue. Right. Whether it benefits me or I'm happy with it, or that's not the issue. If I can trust that every time you tell me that you're going to do something, it's going to take an extra week. Then it's a known quantity. And then every time you say 1 week, I hear 2. It just is. Yeah. And it's the same thing with my husband when he learned that when I said I was going to come home at a certain time, he just has to add an hour.
Yep. He learned that.
He learned. And
I mean to leave at this time.
I mean to leave at this time.
I'm able to leave.
And now, because it was so consistent for so long, now that I am because I worked on it because he was talking about it. Yes. I worked on it, and I worked on being more realistic. And I learned more about my schedule, and I worked on being more understanding of myself. And now, instead of telling him the timeline I think he wants, I tell him the real timeline.
Yeah.
But then he mentally adds an hour and dinner's still not ready. So the point is, though, that trust is about that known quantity. And so to me, not letting people down is about not violating their trust.
Ooh. I think you're right. That's actually probably what's at the core of this conversation.
Right.
Is about trust, and
Yeah.
it's about accountability, and is, something I go back to quite often. Clear is kind, unclear is inclined. So when I do that and underestimate something, it is unclear and it isn't kind to them. And so I am working on expanding some of that. I have caught myself.
But part of it is the timeliness too.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it is you just adding a week to everything that you say.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just being like, yeah, this is kind of how this is going to go down.
Yeah.
And rolling with it.
Like, I'm either going to get it done tomorrow in some sort of hyper-focused frenzy, or it'll be done slowly over the next 2 weeks. I can't predict yet which one it'll be.
It'll be one of the two.
It'll be one of the two.
Well, and I also typically looking, going through the Rolodex of experiences, I also give that grace to other people. Like if you said it was going to be done here and it's not,
right,
I'm probably going to reach out to you a week later. Like, I'm going to give you the week and then ping you and be like, I'm just checking in.
Yeah.
And just, it's all good. Just give me a real,
just give me a real date.
What's realistic and where you're at and what's going on. Because I also work with a lot of solopreneurs, and a lot of them are women. And so just like
we all do it.
And so, I just get it. There's family stuff that's going to drop in there, and it could be parental stuff. It could be your children's stuff. There's significant others. There's just stuff.
And for those of you out there experiencing that, in terms of like all of this stuff comes up and gets in the way of what you're trying to accomplish or what you're trying to achieve, know that you're making the decision in the moment to respond to your value system and what's most important in that moment. And it doesn't always have to be your business, and it doesn't always have to be your family. Like, what's most important to you in that moment is just fine. Because it doesn't mean that the other things aren't important. It just means that in this moment in time, this takes precedence. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And so stop beating yourself up for it.
Right. Because the beating yourself up takes more time than doing the next thing.
The most important thing I would share with everybody about that, and having experienced it with a variety of things over the years with my family, communicating it to other people.
Yeah.
Like, and to the point where I should have probably at times put it like an autoresponder in my emails that was just like, my dad passed away. I'm in charge of the estate. I am not going to be able, like, I'm only addressing the most pertinent things. I've received your email, but it might not be addressed for a week or two. Like, it's just, unfortunately, you've been added to a pile, and I don't want it that way, but that's where, that's what's available to me right now.
Yeah. I have enough water to put out the fires.
Yeah, and I should have been more clear about that, because it was really hard to have people be like, well, you said this was going to be done. I'm like, my dad just died. Like, I really don't have they didn't know. Then they felt horrible.
That now they feel bad.
Right.
And that's a completely different.
Like, I should have just had a conversation about the fact there's been just a family situation that is going to, like, I haven't dropped everything, but your project and its timeline, I recognized were flexible.
Yeah.
And I made this choice. And so
my understanding about your project includes a flexibility in its timeline. If that's not the case,
let me know. Yes. But I'd like to, move.
But I need to reprioritize a little bit for the next month while I deal with my father's estate.
And really, what you just like transpired right there is truly what good friends will help you do, which is craft a few words.
Right.
That's all I
just a few words.
Moment, I couldn't find the words. I just wanted to say things.
Speaking of a few words, I have to tell you about this.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a client who was being misrepresented on Facebook in a way that they couldn't control. Not really negatively, but they were trying to prevent negative situations.
Got it.
So they said to me, how do we handle this? Because we reached out to this other entity, and we weren't able, it didn't get fixed. And I said, well, we have two choices. We can either privately message them through Facebook and cite the issue specifically, and then complain to Facebook about it. Or we can post publicly on your page something like this. And I crafted a message that was positive, but also directed and focused on their intent to not have third parties impacted negatively by this
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
decision. And I said, I will do whichever you approve.
Uh-huh.
Know that the second one is a little bit is aggressive,
Yep.
but also much more likely to get more of an immediate response.
Got it.
And I said, it's Friday afternoon. If I post the second one on Monday morning, I have a feeling you'll have results by Monday afternoon, within 24 hours at least.
Mhm.
They had results within 2 hours.
Oh, they went with the aggressive
They went
approach.
with the aggressive
Okay,
approach. That was
got
the
it.
approach they
They had
decided
the
to do. And I was
canvas
like,
thick about it.
okay, game on.
I bet
And
you're good and competitive. So
I am.
You were the right person.
And
for this
you know,
task.
not everybody is willing to go there. But the thing is, and this kind of does
Yeah.
it does pertain to what we're talking about, because it's about giving people a choice.
Mhm.
It wasn't my choice to make.
No.
It wasn't up to me to say, well, there's really nothing you can do, because this thing that I know you could do is maybe a little mean.
Yeah.
That wasn't my choice to make. My
Mhm.
choice was to present the two or three options that I saw,
Mhm.
and say, these are ways to make these options work.
Mhm.
It's completely up to you what you'd like to do. Here are the likely outcomes of each. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's my
Nice.
role. That's my job. They get to pick from there. I'm
Yeah.
like
You're kind of excited.
Kind of
Oh,
excited about
I see
that.
that look. You're like, yeah.
But
it was
no, I
fun.
mean, but it was really good, because they got what they needed. The core issue was dealt with immediately.
Mhm.
And now third party entities are not going to be negatively impacted by this
Yeah.
private
Yeah.
problem between two businesses.
Yeah. No.
You know, you don't need that. And
No.
so yeah, the message was that they forwarded me from the other was
Oh.
like, please take the post down.
They're like,
And it was down within 2 minutes of me getting the request. So
like, they're like, we've cleaned this. This won't happen again. And
yeah,
nope.
yeah, please take the post. And I was like, okay.
That's awesome.
But this is the point, though, right? Like, when we assume that we're letting people down with our actions,
Mhm.
we are not giving them the choice.
We're assuming.
We're assuming.
You used to
I
go with it.
assumed this morning
Mhm.
that you would somehow be negatively impacted by my lack of desire to do this
Yeah.
today.
And I wouldn't have been.
And you wouldn't have been.
Mm.
So I didn't give you the choice.
Well, on top of the fact that I also know, because we have trust. So it's a combination of trust. It's a combination of communication.
Right.
Those, like, when you have healthy trust and you have good communication, then I would know. If you would send me anything that said, I just can't do this morning, I don't, like, you don't bail unless you need to bail.
Right.
Like, if that's the right choice. So I would have just, as your friend, been like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. Are you okay? Usually that's the kind of thing I send back. I'm like, are you okay? And by the way, this works out good. That's probably exactly what I would have texted back. Like, thank you. Actually. Like,
oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Right. But that, in chatting through this, I'm definitely recognizing it's trust, and it is that communication.
Yeah.
And it is your own our own boundaries. Another thing that I think, I don't want to make this go much longer, but another thing that I know can kind of catch me up sometimes in things is when I say yes to something I really, really, really do not want to do.
Yeah.
And then as it gets closer, I'm like trying to find
dreading it, resenting it.
And then trying to find and then maybe the day of it, I might still cancel. And it's like, how much energy have you wasted?
Yeah.
4 weeks, 4 days, or whatever.
When you could have just said, no, thank you.
So that's another moment where it's like, just if all of you is like, no, I don't want to do that, just say, don't make the ugly face. But
So,
just be like, you know what? I don't think that's going to
I
happen.
learned a line from, I don't know, my father read it in a book somewhere. And he, when we were kids, and we used to use it against him. But it was,
children.
I prefer not to.
There you go.
You cannot argue with I prefer not to.
Mm-mm.
It's so I think one of the things that we do, because we don't want to let people down, or because we're feeling guilt or whatever, is we come up with kind of BS objections to things like, oh, I have to wash my cat's butt.
Right.
Or
I've got my
like, that's where
to
my
do
brain
that
went.
day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or I have to take my dad's sister's dog to the vet, or
right.
I mean, just come up with random. I mean, it's very much like I can't go on a date with you. I have to wash my hair. Like, it's very like that. The dog ate my homework.
Mm-hmm.
And these BS objections, and people overcome them. Like, some people don't get the hint.
Oh yeah.
Like, some people can pick up the pick up the
Oh,
passive
yeah.
aggressive hint.
Yeah.
And some people don't get it. Like,
Mm-mm.
oh, well, I thought you were going to do that on Saturday. You can't do that on Saturday because this is on Tuesday. Are you sure you can't do this on Tuesday?
Like they're so literal, and it's like, oh.
And it's like, so.
Which is good.
And eventually you just have to say no, or you feel bullied into saying yes and then resent it and the person for not getting the social cues.
Yes.
So,
and that's on us.
Here's the thing. Yes, that's on you.
That's on you.
Like, be honest, be straightforward. No more BS objections. No more, oh my gosh, yes, we should have lunch sometime. Oh my gosh, we totally should. And then walk away and nothing.
And nobody pulls out a calendar.
Nobody
schedules it.
Yeah.
It's just
no.
it's out there.
It's out there in the universe.
And the ambiguous, you're waiting for it to go away.
Yep.
World.
Until the next time you see each other 6 months later at some networking event. So I prefer not to. Thank you for asking me.
Yes.
I prefer not to. It's kind.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitive.
It's clear.
It's clear.
To it. It just
it's all of the things, and it states a preference. So it's not a statement of I can't because XYZ or I would accept blah 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 blah. It states a preference.
Yes.
You can't really argue. I mean, you can try to argue with a preference, but it's still a preference.
It's still a preference.
It's like saying I would prefer not to eat onions.
And if they can't respect that,
it's
okay to walk
now.
away.
Now it's not a social cue problem. Now it's a boundary problem.
Yeah.
So
and it's okay to walk away.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and let them down. They're going to be let down no matter what you do.
It's not on you.
Maybe next time we should talk about people who are let down no matter what you do.
Ooh, I like that. We're saving that for later.
Expectations. Thank you so much, everybody.
We hope you've learned a few things. Thanks for joining us on If These Heals, and we will